What we have done in looking through the entire program of the federal student loan program, and we had found, and there was a large concentration of it in Minnesota, those universities where students were applying for federal loan, they were not required to show any kind of identification to prove who they were.
That was Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, who joined National Report after calling for the resignation of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, even as more allegations of fraud hit his state.
That's right. Walz is under mounting scrutiny, as the investigations pile up. This education fraud scandal follows the massive fraud scandal committed largely by the Somali population that rocked the state.
That's right. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is now ordering the state to recertify all of its SNAP recipients within the next 30 days, and that is not all. According to a new report, new indictments just dropped. So, 2 Philadelphia-based men are accused of traveling to Minneapolis after a friend told them the taxpayer-funded programs there presented a good opportunity to make some money.
To discuss, let's bring in Principal Deputy Spokesperson at the State Department, Thomas Pigott. Great to have you with us here. All right, Thomas, let's just go right to that announcement about those new indictments that Bob just referenced, this time involving 2 Philadelphia-based men. They were accused of traveling to Minneapolis after a friend actually told them there are some taxpayer-funded programs that presented a good opportunity to make money. Obviously, the word was out.
Well, ultimately, I referred to law enforcement authorities for specifics, but what I can say from the State Department's perspective is that we have instituted policies when it comes to our visa policies that make sure that when someone comes to this country, the taxpayer will not be on the hook for that person, a public charge rule, to make sure that we're looking at a whole host of different factors to make sure that someone comes here does not end up just relying on benefits, is actually someone that is going to assimilate and contribute, in addition to a whole other range of factors. So this reinforces, in my mind, part of why we need to see that era of mass migration come to an end. And President Trump has taken concrete steps to bring it to an end by having an America First visa policy.
Thomas, I feel like people had to know. I feel like lawmakers in Minnesota and in Minneapolis and all the other towns, if you got guys, the word is out in Philadelphia to come on up to their state to go rip off the state government, people had to have known here, don't you think?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on what people may or may not have known, but obviously this is unacceptable. The president's spoken directly to this, and ultimately, this is why we need to see policies in place that make it clear that when someone comes to this country, the American taxpayer is not going to be on the hook. It's actually an authority we've had at the State Department for close to 100 years, and we're seeing implementation of that policy for new people applying on visas coming to this country. But I can also say if someone is here on a visa and they violate the terms of that visa, if they break the law here, that's grounds for revocation, and that's an important part of this as well. We're not going to tolerate people that abuse our immigration laws, that break the law. We're going to take action to address that.
All right, and Thomas, you did mention that the president did reference this last night. I believe we have some sound on exactly what he said regarding Minnesota, if we could bring that up.
Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it.
Your reaction, Thomas?
Well, that was part of that speech talking about all of the promises that the president has made. And it really was an historic speech because he made the promises and he's following through on them. It's promises made, promises kept. And the fundamental tenet of that speech, I believe, was America first. America first. Common sense policies to say we're not going to have people in this country that break our laws, that abuse our systems, that attack our country, that undermine our national security. We're having a whole of government approach to put the American people first. That's exactly what President Trump promised to. That's exactly what he's done. And that speech last night outlined so clearly how he is living through on all of those promises.
Yep, certainly is. Thomas Pigott, thanks for coming on. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.